Classic error. Muting classic error. Welcome back, everyone, to the Whispering Darkness of Davokar, an atmospheric greeting that has been horribly undermined by my own incompetence. But hey, that's Twitch. This is the second episode of Fetters of Stone. It's Symbaroum actual play. For any of you tuning in who might be kind of maybe newer fans of Symbaroum or looking forward to the D&D 5th ed version of Symbaroum. We're not playing that, I'm afraid. We're playing kind of classic Symbaroum, but we hope you enjoy anyway. So now is where I'd usually talk about kind of promo stuff for our channel if we were doing one of our own streams. But I'll keep that to a minimum because, Free League were good enough to let us on here, so we won't promo ourselves too much. But there'll be some links over in the chat throughout to things like our Twitch and our YouTube and our Discord and blah, 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 blah. We run 3 weekly games, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We usually start at 8 o'clock BST, and why not check those out? One of them is an ongoing big, long Symbaroum campaign, although we're just about to go on a break for that. But when we come back, we'll be playing Throne of Thorns all the way through, unless the world ends first, which, given current circumstance, hey, flip a coin. I'll introduce you first to the person who'll be doing said links, who might pop up at some point, our stream manager, Steve, who will now show his lovely, lovlovely face. Hi, Steve. How's it going?
Hi there. I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, pretty
awesome.
Good. I'm not sure whether we can actually post links. Because I think the Free League bot gets a little bit...
well, I've already done one. So,
okay. Excellent.
And I didn't seem to.
I think you have the privilege.
I have the privilege. Yeah. That's the thing. There we go. Well, I'll try and post some links throughout. But we're easy to find. We're easy to find if people wanted to. Steve's going to be handling chat and also throwing up images and shuffling around cameras and stuff like that, and working away in the background to make sure this stream is excellent. So thank you for that, Steve. And we'll move on and start introing the players now, I think. So we'll do a quick recap of the first session last week, just so everyone is caught up to where we are. And first, let's bring on John. John is playing Aaron, who is a duelist and Ambrian noble, kind of scion of a doomed house, all that good stuff. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing all right. Yeah. Last week, we all were at Thistlehold to meet a contact from Mother McGee's... I just call them the Adventurers Guild.
Mother McGee. Mother Mahira.
Mother Mahira. And I was randomly attacked by some goon who clearly has no plot or character background implications whatsoever, who is quickly dispatched. We all managed to find our contact called Atio. He had a double name, but I've just got him written down as Atio, which is his surname. Interesting. And we were told that
Serex Atio.
That's it. And we were told that having only just met up, we already have a contract, and that we will leave for it as soon as possible, as soon as Atio sobered up, which he didn't, but we went anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's bring on our second player, Sam, who plays Shuglud, the leader of the remnants of a small goblin tribe who are basically dedicated to self-destruction as much as possible for some horribleness that happened in the past. Hi, Sam. How are you?
Pretty good. Excited to see if I can get myself killed this session.
So are we all. So what happened next?
We met up at the south gate of Thistlehold. Everyone picked horses. For some it went well, for others it went quite poorly. And then we set off to Karun with the idea that we would cross the river there and carry on our way. During the journey, it went quite smoothly overall. We were informed, I think at this point, of our kind of overall goal of trying to meet up with a caravan. I think at this point we were just told it was a noble. I don't think we were told exactly what it was, but perhaps we were.
That's right.
said we'd be going on some kind of quest to see what we could uncover on the west side of Lake Volgoma, accompanying some noble who wanted something from this place without any exact specifics. The journey to Karun went pretty smoothly. I think the party discovered a little bit more about the Vara Goldrew and their kind of death wish. Atio tried to get people to drink with him, mostly unsuccessfully, and we pretty much made our way to Karun and got across the river on a ferry.
Yeah, that's right. And it all went pretty smooth to this point. So let's bring on our third player, Elle. Elle plays Farah, a lady with a staff who may or may not have come from a bad situation and may or may not be on the run in some capacity. She also has a very close companion called Aurel, who is, a mystic who is quite shy, would we say? Shy and...
I've started to picture him as, if anyone's played Dragon Age Inquisition, I start to picture him as kind of like Cole, but without the big floppy hat.
Yeah, sure. And without being, spoilers for that'll get... Yeah, without being like a spirit made flesh. So what happened next, Elle?
So yes, obviously we were, hanging out with Mariol and her crew. My character Farah, she decided she took an instant disliking to one of Mariol's companions, whose name I've forgotten. There were a lot of names. That would
be Iaso.
Yes, Iaso. Yes, because Iago. That's why. But yeah, so we decided we disliked him because not because I rolled badly, but we've decided that he somehow knows about my past. So basically, a lot of the journey thus far was just spent trying to, for Farah at least, get as far away from him as possible. We were traveling with caravans, and then we came to a point where we realized we could either kind of continue with them a bit further on in the forest, or we could leave them as we were and continue on foot. We figured that it would be a bit quicker and a bit safer that way. No, I think it'd take longer but safer.
Yeah,
I can't remember. There was like a toss. Yeah.
I think the idea was that at the moment, there are quite a few sort of restless barbarian clans and elves who are ambushing people on the roads. So oddly, for Davakar, veering off the road and going along the shore of the lake might be
technically safer. Yeah, so we decided there was a bit of a back and forth, but we did decide in the end to leave the caravans where they were and then continue kind of on foot into Davakar. And we successfully.
I think there's a couple of scenes there as well. I just want to briefly mention. I don't think any of them were actually involving Elle's character. So let's talk about those. One of them concerned Arin and was, I think, an overheard conversation between Mariol, the leader of the caravan, and the dwarf Vlador, which seemed to be an odd one, and perhaps there's a power dynamic there that may not be what one would expect. In addition to that, one of our other characters, who will come up in a bit, Vardamar, caught the caravan's scholar in a bit. His name's Gedeon, and he seems to be talking to things that aren't there.
No, he was talking to himself, obviously.
He's talking to himself. What are you talking about? It's all fine.
We believe him.
And that's fine. And the only other thing was Serix Atio made a bit of a scene and ended up trying to wrestle people in his armor while drunk. But I
remember this.
Down from it. Yeah. But he seems to be carrying some serious emotional scars. So it's all good. It's all fun. So speaking of our next player, let's bring on Chris, who is playing Garar, who is a goblin of the same tribe as Shugled. And what happened when you went along the shore of the lake, Chris?
Yeah, so the decision point was, do we continue along the safe path or do we go along the shoreline? And the shoreline was pretty good going. It was nice, and it was reasonably nice for a few hours. Until we came across a beached ship staffed by members of the Church of Prios, who were naive and not probably well equipped to be in charge of a boat. There seemed to be one kind of senior member of the church and a load of kind of acolytes around them, and they kind of begged us for help, and not so much begged us for help, but kind of asked us for assistance would be a better way to put it. And we decided that we'd go ahead and do that. I believe we camped down at that point, did we not? Or was that later on? But we there was no trouble from them, I don't think, but they were very earnest, and if they hadn't drowned, then perhaps Davokar would have made short work of them shortly afterward. We carried on our walk, and unfortunately, eventually, the good footing gave way to some very fenny and boggy ground, and that is where my part of the recap ends.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's bring on our final player, Alex, who plays Vardamar, a wandering mystic. And Alex can bring us up to date on how the session ended.
Yeah, I think after catching Gideon having a very normal conversation with himself that surely won't have also any plot implications for any of us and won't Chekhov's gun in any way. I think as we proceeded deeper into the marsh, we could feel not just the physical hazards, but the corruption start ramping up. And so when people misplaced a step, they could feel that leaching into them. And then I believe as we were pressing on, after taking a brief stop at a ruin whose origins we did not quite know, I think it was Aaron who was walking ahead and came face to face with a whirlpool that suddenly became a very monstrous body of water that lashed a water tentacle around him and started pulling him in, if I have that right.
I think that is entirely correct, and that's where we ended up last week. So with that in mind, let's get that character art off and go straight into some initiative. Good times. The scene as it is the group as a whole is proceeding through the marsh. Aaron has been attacked by whatever this is and is now sort of, I believe you did manage to escape the first grasp of whatever it is around you, and now we're just kind of going into sort of fresh combat. I'm pretty sure you did. I'm pretty sure you managed to roll your defense there.
I think I rolled a defense for an attack, but I was still grappled. But as I mentioned after the session, I have Escape Artist, which if I had rolled, would have given me a re-roll.
I don't think you are grappled, because I don't think there's a concept of grappling in Symbaroum's base rules. I think you did dodge the attack. I remember doing that because I remember being annoyed about it. So I think that is the case. So we'll just drop into the initiative we have. So Steve, if you can pop up the initiative for this combat, please. So if we picture like how the actual the landscape is laid out, I'd say that everyone is fairly spread out on this trek through the marsh, not to the degree of not being able to see each other, but certainly kind of like progress is slow through this horrible miry fen-like bog, and therefore you're probably not immediately within reach of helping Aaron, though I'd say you've probably all heard him cry out. So let's go one by one. So Garar, as I say, I think everyone can now see what's happening to Aaron, can see him struggling against this kind of like sort of towering, swirling pillar of water that seems to be trying to lash tendrils of fluid around him. What is Garar going to do?
my movement action, I'd like to see if a beast lore roll is going to give me any insight into what this thing is.
I think that is absolutely great. So why don't you give that cunning, I believe it's a cunning roll for beast lore?
It is a cunning roll.
It is a cunning roll. Do you have any specialities at the moment that you?
No, I don't. I do have it.
I think the speciality. I think you do have a speciality in beasts, but also I think all that does is add damage to your rolls against them. I don't think it gives you a bonus for this roll.
No, and also I don't think I choose a specialized beast until the 3rd level because I'm at the 2nd level and it wasn't mentioned there. But here we go.
I thought
10
it was
required and 10 achieved.
10 required and 10 achieved. So there are patches of elements and landscapes in Davakar that seem to have a life of their own. And that life of their own primarily revolves around trying to harm anything that comes within reach of them, as if part of the corruption of the forest has sunk into the earth, into the water, into lava, into air, and has inspired it to become violent and aggressive. This seems to be one of those places. You have, in fact, heard, as you know, Garaz's obviously looking at our initiative lineup, and you have heard that these things, when they're water, being referred to as undines.
Undines.
Do you? I think you do you pick up strengths and stuff like that, strengths and particular weaknesses and things?
I don't think it actually mentions if it gives me.
I'm almost sure it does. Otherwise, it's just find the name of the thing, which isn't.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
Recollect monsters' strengths and weaknesses. Also, I would say that adept is to pick a category of monsters you gain extra damage against. So I think you do have that. However, this is not a beast, so that's irrelevant to this.
I think that is my specialism as well.
These undines are rather predictably, I suppose, vulnerable to fire. And if fire isn't applied, they can be driven off, but they have a tendency to keep kind of drawing up the water around them and therefore kind of regenerating in a sense. And that's I guess, the information you can draw from that. Oh, and you probably shouldn't let them pull you under the surface. Yeah, but that's okay. I feel like you don't need a beast law roll for that.
Yeah, no, that's a common sense rule. Who was the name of the other kind of scout who I was scouting with the other day, who I'd kind of made a little bit of a bond with from the caravan?
Sure, that is the Zarek guide, Elle.
Elle. So I will kind of. Are they there within shouting range? I think
she absolutely is. Yeah.
So I'll just give her a shout. Elle, that's an undine. They do not like fire. And I will.
You see Elle nod, and you see her kind of rummaging in a pack at her side.
I would like to then, because I have not moved, I would like to take a shot at it with my bow.
Absolutely, you can absolutely do that. So its defense is at -1. So take a -1 to your stat when you roll, but otherwise, absolutely fine.
So my accuracy is 14. -1 means my target number is 15. Wish me luck.
-1 means your target number. No, your target number should be 13.
Okay, yeah.
Remember, -1 to roll.
Oh, God. Anyway.
It's all right. Chris has only been playing this for 8 months over on our channel. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I just hate math.
Makes me worry now that it's for 8 months.
I get the rules wrong. Whatever way benefits me the most. But anyway, that was a hit, regardless of what way the maths cuts it, and I now have a D10 of damage. Oh, good morning, sunshine.
Very nice. I feel like probably from your vantage point, kind of, it's, there's enough fog and mist around that you can't really see clearly. All you can see is that your arrow seems to have plunged into the heart of the thing. I think Aaron is possibly the only person who kind of grasps exactly what you've done. As this thing is kind of trying to get a hold of you, Aaron, and drag you under again, you see an arrow kind of flash just in front of your eyes and pierce through the thing, and it doesn't seem to be capable of making noise per se, but it certainly starts boiling and sort of the center of it starts roiling and thrashing as if there was something struggling at the heart of this thing. Clearly, that whatever that arrow has done seems to have hurt it a great deal, and you feel kind of the pressure of these tendrils around you start to loosen slightly. Farah, I believe it is your turn. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, as soon as I started talking, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm assuming Farah heard the shout from...
Yeah, I think so. It was loud and plaintive enough that I think everyone heard it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, I mean, Farah is obviously well aware now that it doesn't like fire, but I'm trying to think. So we have...
Well, actually, are you? Because I'm going to say, because Garah said...
it doesn't like fire.
Well, Chris said that Garah yelled to Elmea that it doesn't like fire. So you know what? Given how spaced out everyone is, I'm going to make everyone make a vigilant roll who isn't Elmea, there for all of you, to see if they picked up on what Garah was shouting. And you know what?
Modifiers?
I'll give Shuglad a modifier because Shuglad knows Garah so well that he's more likely to be listening. So yeah.
All right. Cool. I will roll promptly. 12, and I needed a 10. So
no problem.
All right. In that case, yeah, I will just so try to think. How far away from it am I?
You are far enough away that basically you'll get, if you want to run towards it and strike it, you'll get to it the next turn. So it's going to take you kind of 3 turns of movement to get to where Aaron is.
Well,
3 movement actions.
Yeah. To be honest, then I'm passing up on my turn because she realizes that it's going to be more. I realize that it's going to possibly endanger myself and Orel more traversing through the swamp, considering we've kind of cut ourselves already or whatever. So I'm going to stay put, enter a defensive sort of stance with my staff in front of Orel and kind of wait for it to come to me.
Wait for it to finish killing the noble and come to you.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, Aaron, what are you doing?
I would just like to say, was the vigilant roll for all of us?
I would say you can also make the vigilant roll, but I'm going to give you a -3 on it because all you can hear is this kind of roiling mass of water.
That is fair, because if it had been -2, I would have passed. And I would just like to comment on how the least observant person in the group, who is also currently fighting this thing, somehow managed to overhear. But no, it doesn't matter. As it caught me unawares, I probably didn't have I didn't have either of my weapons drawn.
Sure. I'd say, you'll need your movement action if you want to draw your fencing saber.
And then I will...
But draw your dagger, right? You could draw your dagger for free.
Yeah, because that's a short weapon. Either way, I'm drawing both of them, and I am going to try and swipe at one of the tentacles.
Absolutely. Why don't you give me an attack at -1, please?
That is definitely a pass. Target of 16, I rolled target 15, I rolled an 8, but sadly only 2 damage.
Only 2 damage. Okay. You swipe through it with your fencing saber, and you're almost surprised that the arrow did as much as it did, because you're fighting water, although admittedly kind of boiling, seemingly more formed water. And as you slash it, you feel like the quivering of a tendril on the end of your blade. So you are hurting it, but you're not sure you're doing anywhere near as much as the arrow seemed to. And in front of your eyes, as its turn begins, you see kind of A lot of the water underfoot has obviously kind of swampy scum on top of it and plants floating on it and things like that, and you can see bits of that being sucked up into it as it kind of registers with you that it seems to be drawing strength and kind of repairing whatever form it has. I mean, you're not sure there is anything solid at the center of this, but whatever it is reforming itself from the surface of the mire. So, and it's also going to attack you. So can you give me a defense roll, please, at -4?
Yes. So my target is 10.
Mm-hmm.
Natural 1.
Natural 1, nice. So that is a perfect defense. And in that case, what you get is a free attack on it.
Nice.
So do you want to roll me another attack, please, at a -1?
Oh no, I rolled 16, so that is a fail.
I thought you were going to say you rolled a 20 and just this back and forth of fumbled attacks and defense. Yeah. Well, no. a tendril kind of lashes out for you in response, and you swipe at it, but you're not sure you really did anything towards it. Shuglud, you are next, friend. What are you going to do?
I am going to draw my swords and just sprint towards this horrible monster.
No problem. We are aware, folks, that Sam is having some audio issues. And just so Sam knows, because he's fiddling with settings, we still have audio issues. Okay. Hence John going. But yeah, absolutely. Noise. So as I say, it's 3 movement actions to get to it. So you'll use 2 movement actions to charge in this turn. Next turn, you can use another one and charge in and hit it. But I would say if you're charging full pelt, you know what? I think Elle made a really good point talking about how before moving through this marshland hurt with all the horrible things underfoot. So could you give me, please, either a quick -3 or vigilant -2 test?
I think both of those are quite bad.
Sorry.
Was it quick -3?
Yeah, quick -3 or vigilant -2, I think I said.
Okay.
Yeah.
I failed. I got an 18.
Sure. In that case, why don't you give me an armor roll?
Okay. I'll just roll a d4. I rolled a 4.
Okay. You feel kind of one of the patchwork greaves on your leg kind of clang into some log lurking below the surface of the water, and you kind of thank. Well, I'm not sure Struggler does believe in anything particularly, but you thank fate that it had hit you there rather than in a less armored part of you. And Alex, Vardamar, what is Vardamar doing?
Okay, does this count as a creature?
What for the purposes of what?
I am potentially interested in bending its will, should it have one.
You know what? Give me a cunning roll.
Ooh, okay.
And I think that this is. Do you think Vardamar would have encountered something like this before?
I think it's plausible. He's up north. He's got Lore Master. He's been around a bit in the wild, so I think it's fully plausible.
I think that's fair enough. Why don't you just give me a flat cunning roll then?
All right. That is a 11, so yes, that passes by 2.
You think that this thing has... I mean, if it does have a will, it's the very fragmentary essence of just a raw emotional state that's been left behind by some horrible corruption in the forest. You do not think that this thing can be influenced by your mystical powers.
All right, I was afraid you'd say that. All right, did I hear the thing about the fire then?
Well, yeah. Did you make the vigilant roll for that?
I have to actually roll that, don't I?
Yeah, sorry.
That is a 9, so that's made by 1.
Okay, yes, you did hear about. You heard Garage shouting that fire will hurt it.
Okay. In my camping supplies, then, do I have like flint, tinder, some fire making stuff?
Yeah, I think absolutely so. Yeah.
All right, I definitely want to dig that out and find the nearest flammable stick that I can make a torch out of. Then.
Sure. Well, let's say it's a movement action to get the stuff out of your pack,
Sure.
And then let's say it's a. Now, normally, obviously, in Davokar, to find a nearby flammable thing would be, maybe a vigilant roll with some good pluses. Here in the Maya, I'm going to put some minuses on it. All right. Why don't you give me a vigilant roll at -2 to find something dry enough to set a flame?
Yeah. 14, so that's a fail. No.
Okay. Yeah, you don't find anything while looking around. You know what? I'd say you can do that while you're taking your movement action, like look around. So
Okay.
I'd say you still have your action if you want to do something else with that. Or if you want to look again.
I think actually, if I'm near anybody else who might not have heard, I might pass the word along that fire. We need fire to fight this thing. Yeah.
So you shout it again.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I'll judge in that case that absolutely, like everyone now knows whether or not you've made the vigilant roll. I think 2 people shouting it is more than enough for people to be aware. So yeah. There we go.
Right.
Let's whip round to the beginning of the initiative order again. So, Garar, are you going to try and follow up on your other NPCs? By the way, are either moving towards it or doing their own preparations. And if anyone wants to ask me what a specific person is doing, I'll tell them. But otherwise, I'll be here describing like 8 people's actions.
I think the first arrow did well, and kind of my job isn't to. My job is not the tactician. My job is the hunter. So I will loose another arrow at this thing. I am, just for the purposes of rules, nominating this as my target for my skill.
Is that your hunter's
marksman skill?
Marksman.
No, hunter's instinct.
Your marksman. So what does hunter's instinct do?
I can re-roll any field attack.
Great.
So once again, you were saying it's a -1, so I have to hit 13.
-1, yeah.
So here we go. 12. That's neat.
There we go. What's that damage?
And the D10 is a 1 because Fate giveth and Fate taketh
just to balance it up from last time. Another arrow plunges into it to visually considerably less success than last time, as far as you're concerned, Aaron. Like an arrow just basically like hardly splashes off the top of it. Garar, are you doing anything with your movement action?
I don't think I necessarily need to. I think my job here is to just keep
Stand
the attacks
still.
up. I've already told everyone the best we can do, so hopefully other people might do some work eventually.
Excellent. Speaking of other people who might do some work eventually, Farah.
Brutal, but true. I've heard that it's weak to fire at this point. Question: we have camping gear on us. Does camping gear include like a tinderbox or anything to light spark?
Because Vardamar was using that to try and set something aflame as well. So yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I'm gonna tear off like a strip of whatever cloth clothing I'm wearing. I've got my staff. I'm just gonna wrap that hastily around staff and try and set fire to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that could work really well. Why don't you give me a cunning roll? And I think it's well thought out. So take a +4 to that. I think.
Oh, that's exciting.
So cunning at +4.
Okay, let's do this. What's my cunning? Oh, it's not quite my dump stars. That's all right. 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got to hit 12. Roll. Oh, come on. Be good to me. No, not even a little bit. 16. Just ruined my clothing for nothing.
Sure, but I think it's the kind of thing where you can reattempt it. With your second action this turn, if you want to reattempt it, I think that's fine.
I will.
Yeah.
Yes, I will spend both my actions trying to do that.
Sure.
On the way, it would have been 13, not 12.
You know what? You can take another +1.
14. That's exciting.
Yeah, because
yes, I got a 12, so okay. I hit it this time.
Yeah, you've got a strip of a kind of bundled woolen cloth from kind of just one of your sashes. You've wrapped it around the end of your staff, and you successfully set it alight, presumably for charging in. And
I'm just going to stay.
Just having a laugh.
But that's both my actions anyway, isn't it? So I'll have to remain put for now anyway.
Yeah, no problem. So
sorry, Aaron. Kind of.
Sorry, Aaron. Sorin. What's Aaron doing?
Aaron is paying no attention to whatever Farah is doing, so saying sorry doesn't really matter. And taking, I mean, it just makes sense to keep swiping at this thing that keeps looming at him. Everyone else is doing useful things. I'm mostly distracting it at this point, I think. But
I like the idea that you're trying to fence this thing, yeah. Like desperately trying to engage it in honorable combat. So its defense is a -1, so just give me that roll.
Okay. So rolled 7, so that's a pass and 5 damage.
Okay. Your saber slashes through one of the tendrils again, and you feel like this time, like basically when you slash through it, the end of the tendril, it doesn't fall off; it just turns kind of into normal water again, and just kind of, dissipates and splashes back down into the fen that you're currently kind of up to your knees in. It is a very odd and unusual thing to fight. And you're not entirely sure, are you even getting closer to defeating it? You have no idea, but clearly what you're doing is doing something.
I give a victorious ha.
Sure. So why don't you give me a defense roll, please?
Okay.
That's -4, and sooner or later you've got to lose one of these.
What was that at?
-4.
That is a fail.
That is a fail. Okay then. Well, the first thing that's going to happen is a description, I think. So as you swipe through one tendril, you feel another one kind of raising itself up from the water that you're stood in, and kind of sort of slapping wetly against your back, and with terrifying might just yanking you forward and pulling you into the boiling mire. Yes, what can I finish my description?
Yes. Okay.
No, go on.
I was going to say I have escape artist, which would give me a reroll on any ensnaring or holding or
what to escape it.
Yes, so that would apply
to escape
after.
it, or for it to happen in the first place. I'm guessing to happen to escape it, not for
Probably
it to happen
escape.
in the first place. Okay.
I will be quiet then.
Okay, sure. So I have no idea where I was. You're pulled forward into the kind of roiling mass of water, and it just feels like you've plunged into wet, dirty water, and you instantly lose, honestly, most of your sense of which way is up and which way is down, let alone the direction you came in. Can you take 3 toughness, please? There is, unsurprisingly, no armor roll for drowning.
Yikes. Okay.
This seems dangerous.
Yeah, there is a roll to escape, and I think that is what escape artist will apply to. So,
right.
Yeah. Yes. And also, I don't think anyone's in a position to really tell that it's regenerating, but it's regenerating. Shugled, I believe you can reach it this turn.
Well, that's exciting. I'm going to sprint towards it, let out a little war cry, Faragoldru, and then I'm going to berserk, and I'm going to start hitting it.
Nice. So it's defense roll at -1. You have a kind of do you have twin attack and stuff like that?
I do.
Sort of. Yeah. I'm not sure how they work, but I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I think I just get 2 attacks. One is a 1d8 and one is a 1d6.
Cool.
And I have an extra d6 from Berserker.
Nice. On both hits or just one of them?
I think both.
Oh my god!
Good old Berserker.
Can someone do a wee look on that under Berserker just to double check before we calculate the damage?
What were we checking for Berserker?
Whether it applies to
had?
Sorry?
Is this what FNA had?
FNA did have Berserker, but this is applying to two attacks rather than one attack. So if someone, Steve or someone, can just check on Berserker, that'd be cool. Because if it says every single attack, then that's cool. It might just say like it only applies to one attack per turn. A lot of them do that. So yeah, but either way, your initial strike is at a -1, as they all are.
Okay. I need a 14, and I get a 9, so I make it.
Okay, and then so we know for sure that your first attack is a D8 plus a D6, right?
Yep.
At the very least.
And I get 6.
Nice. So have we got any word on that? On those Berserker rules, I can have a look and see if not. I literally, actually, bizarrely have it open because I had the Beastlaw open. Dealing 1d6 extra damage when fighting in melee combat. Yeah, that's all it says. You know, it doesn't say. It doesn't say it can only apply to like one attack or turn or whatever. So I guess it doesn't. So I guess you can go ahead and do your second attack.
Okay. Is this still at a -1?
Yes.
Okay. I get a 17, so I don't make it.
Okay. So you dive in, as you say, you cry Varagul'Dru at the top of your voice, kind of slash, carve a line in the center of the mass where it kind of parts oddly with spray coming off kind of over you, spattering onto the ground around you, and it reels back in you're not sure pain, but clearly discomfort of some kind, and your other blade goes wild. Further in, you can just about see, because the water is muddy and horrible, but you can see kind of a foot, maybe more inside, the kind of darker, thrashing, struggling form of Aaron as he is being drowned, consumed, all of the above.
Something bad.
Something bad. I think we can all agree it's bad. So, Vardamar.
Use my turn to unmute. Can I throw in some bushcraft to try and find something flammable? Because I will otherwise just steal Farah's IP and make a flaming staff. But
no, I think that's great. Yeah, if you've got bushcraft. Obviously that's on both of us for not remembering before, but yeah, I think with bushcraft I'll just hand wave that roll.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. All right, I want to make a flaming, torch brand thing.
Yeah, I think you can do that with a movement action. I'm gonna yeah, you can roll a cunning, but because you have bushcraft, I'm gonna give you a +4 on that roll.
So I really don't have to not screw this up. That's a 3, so I think I'm okay.
You are okay, and I'd say you still have your movement action left. So
okay, yeah, I want to advance on it, knowing the sort of this could be bad, but I do want to flank it from the other side from Aaron to give it sort of another thing to pay attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you move through the marsh, and you're not kind of. I think I'll only make people roll for if they get like wounded by something underfoot if they spend both movement actions in a turn moving.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay, so we haven't mentioned what some of the NPCs are doing, but I think it's fair to say that some of them are now arriving on the scene, right? Specifically, the other 3 Varagul'Dru are charging up and wailing into the thing with swords and axes. Iarso is there with his kind of huge long axe. That he's just kind of let out an inarticulate howling cry, and kind of like as if he's chopping through a huge tree trunk, kind of overhead, swung with the long axe, his hands moving up and down the length of it to increase the heft of the strike, and kind of carves a great valley out of the thing as he does so. So these people are also helping. Also, you see kind of a flickering, flaming arrow like pass through it, and as it does so, kind of the area around the arrow's path sort of hisses and rears back, and steam rises up into the murky sky. So clearly other people are having an effect on it as well, and I'm not going to bother calculating all those things. I'm just going to arbitrarily do a certain amount of damage to it. Because when I started doing Symbaroum, or over the last few weeks of it, I did definitely do this kind of sim thing where I calculated all these things precisely, and then came to the conclusion that no one cares and it's a massive amount of extra work for me. So, yeah. Girard, what are you doing?
I think I've seen the flaming arrow, and I'm like, that's a great idea, but I'm going to stick with on flaming arrows for the meanwhile. Just because the extra effort required in the cost of materials is just not my job, Gov.
It's a lot, and do you know if you even like this Aaron guy? You know?
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Like, kind of smell a Yindaros off him and nobility.
Yeah, you know. And hey, you might get lucky and hit him.
Yeah, true. But I will roll that attack.
I was about to say, you have to keep me around because, you know, you can use me as cannon fodder, but you don't want that.
Yeah, no, exactly. You've got nothing to sell to me, Drowny friend. I have made that attack.
Awesome.
I'm going to roll my damage, and that's a respectable 5.
A respectable 5. Another arrow plunges in. Aaron, you see kind of perceive an arrow just kind of in, and then obviously slow massively as it starts drifting in this roiling mass. And it does seem to do some damage. Chris is going to hop off for a second now that he's finished his action. Elle, is Farah continuing to charge forward through the swamp?
I think I'm assuming the Undine hasn't actually moved, so it will take both of my movement actions to
correct.
reach it.
It's all in.
I'll have to make some sort of roll.
Yes, it's quick -3 or vigilant -2. Your choice.
Okie dokie. Let's have a look. See. Quick -3 or vigilant -2. All right, cool. I'm going to go quick -3, and that will mean I have to hit 10 or lower. No, we're a fan of 16 at the moment, apparently, which...
that is an armor roll, then, please.
What is mine armor? Let's see. Where is... 1d6. Excellent. That's nice. Thank you, medium armor. So let's do that thing. 6. 3.
Okay, well, that's exactly what you need. So you feel something unpleasantly sharp underfoot, but it's not sharp enough to pierce your footwear. So you're fine.
So I still make the move, don't I?
Yeah, you still make the move, and you're in a position to attack it next turn. Yeah. Aaron, so your turn is kind of determined for you to a certain degree. And the roll you need to make, which I believe you said you can try for twice.
Yes.
Is let me get the detail here. You need to roll cunning at -6.
Okay.
Is your cunning 6? Or
my cunning is 7.
Okay.
So we're after a natural 1 here, folks.
Mm-hmm. But you get 2 tries at it. I mean, that's almost guaranteed,
that
right?
Doubles my probability.
Yeah.
Don't question that. So that's an 18, which is not a 1. And a 2.
It's not a 1.
That's not a 1.
Yeah.
It's almost a 1.
It is almost a 1, but also it's double a 1.
Enough.
So, it's a complex relationship. So, yes, in that case, Aaron, please take 3 toughness again.
Okay, I'm at 0 toughness.
Your toughness is 6.
No, I took some damage from the swamp, and I took some damage from my sword fight in Thistlehold.
But you'd healed that, surely.
Had I?
Yeah.
In that case, I'm on 2
passed,
toughness.
and you heal 1 toughness every day, right?
In that case,
right,
I'm on 2 toughness. It's fine, guys.
That's
it's
a lot
fun.
better than 0.
Can you use Medicus in battle?
If it's appropriate to do so, like
I don't think it's appropriate while Aaron is.
You can reach into the thing and go,
yeah, it's fine. I got you.
There's a tube. Have some oxygen.
Exactly.
I'd say, Aaron, things are starting, kind of sparkles are starting to appear before your eyes. You're starting to panic now and thrash. Things are not good for you within the Undine. So, yeah. I think that kind of does that take up the Choking Undine's turn as well? I'm not so sure it does, or if it does, I'm going to rule otherwise, because I think this is the kind of thing that can attack multiple people at once. Why not? There's room inside it for a goblin. So, Shuglud, give me a defense roll, please, at -4.
Since I'm in Berserk,
Your defense is like 5, right?
Yep. And I roll a 4. So, no.
Okay. In that case, several of the tendrils kind of splash out. They don't quite pull you all the way in, but you're in enough that you kind of are gasping desperately for air, and obviously like desperately trying to fight it as well. Take 3 damage, please, from the Undine, essentially pouring itself down your throat.
Seems unpleasant.
But now it's your turn, so you can try and break away, right?
My cunning is slightly better, but this is still not good.
It's not good. So, you get a cunning roll at -6.
Okay. Does this count as... It's a cunning roll, so I'm not expecting it to, but does it count as an ongoing physical effect? Because I have a second chance to succeed. I know, it's only on strong or resolute tests. So...
No, afraid not.
Okay. I need a 4 or less, and I rolled a 16.
Okay, I'd say that you have not escaped then, and you're now being pulled in. I'd say even more so now, you can feel like the front of you is kind of, you can feel something pressing up against you, and it's only it takes you seconds to realize that this kind of sort of thrashing thing you're pressed up against is Aaron's back.
Okay.
Vardamar.
Don't stab me.
It's all going to be great. Have I reached this thing yet?
Did you?
I took 1 move over there, but
no, you need 2 more movements before you reach
more.
it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess if I rush over, I'm gonna take some stuff, aren't I? But I don't see how else I can help if I don't. So yeah, I think I'm gonna use the rest of my move with my flaming brand here to get over to the thing and try to flank it.
Sure. I think if you wanted, you could try and throw it.
I mean, what's that going to be? Accurate?
Yeah, I think it'll be an accurate roll.
It's
something that's not meant to be thrown, so I might give you a minus on it as well.
Yeah, I just feel like if I get that wrong, that's my one useful tool gone. So
sure.
I think I'm still going to hustle over there.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. In that case, please give me either a quick -3 or vigilant -2 roll as you're trying to furiously make your way through the fen.
Yeah, I'll do vigilant -2, so I got to do an 8 or lower, and that's a 19, so that's a no.
Okay, in that case, give me an armor roll, please.
So since I'm not wearing any armor, is that just, do I use quick or not?
No, I think everyone starts with armor, don't they?
Well, I think there was no useful armor that I could use and still cast. I think that was the deal, that like leather wouldn't be any good on me. I need like some sweet barbarian armor and robes to have any.
I think like light armor does function for everyone and doesn't impede you from casting mystical powers, and everyone does start with it.
Okay.
Is that a D3, folks? Light armor.
D4, I think.
D4.
Yeah. It's just like heavy clothing, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just your
Don't get me
layers
wrong,
and
you
layers
can
of
not
fur.
wear armor if you want, but that
No, I mean,
your days will be numbered.
Yeah, if I get it, I mean, I'm gluing that to me. So I roll d4 on that.
Yeah.
So it's a 3.
Cool. Yeah. In that case, again, you hit something nasty with your foot, but your footwear takes the brunt of it. I think what it was in character creation, we determined that you couldn't afford robes, which were the useful thing. But you still, everyone starts with light armor. So
my bad. Okay,
because as I say, it's just like heavy clothing.
Cool. So I've made it to melee range with this thing.
Yeah, you have made it in there now.
Okay. Even if I can't get an attack, then I do want to like wave the brand around a bit to like get its attention and maybe possibly let go of one of our allies here.
You know what? I think as you're reaching it and you're not trying to strike it, you know what? I'm going to allow this.
Okay.
So why don't you give me?
Don't even know if this is good or bad. Oh man.
You know, is this a cunning roll or a persuasive roll? I think it's probably a cunning roll. Like, I don't think this thing can be persuaded, so to speak. Why don't you give me a cunning roll at, let's oppose it with. Let's oppose it with its cunning roll, with its cunning stat. Oh no, it's resolute.
Okay.
In which case, just a flat cunning roll.
Okay, flat cunning. So got to be 13. Yes, 9. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I think you can kind of swipe to try and kind of drive it back, and with this flaming brand that you've got, and I'm going to judge from that it releases one individual.
Ooh,
and I'm going to determine that individual
by who you like best
with a D6 roll.
Right, by rolling random chance.
Yeah. So. Shuglud, you're free.
Yay!
Knew it.
Sorry, Aaron.
The one we like best. I mean, of the one random chance chose, of course.
Shuglud, you feel like kind of air on the back of your neck and kind of almost a brief flare of burning pain, and then you kind of tumble out of the water, and I'll say you're prone down, kind of on the ground, kind of like thrashing a bit, but you are free. You are loose.
Great.
So that's something. We have all the other NPCs there, the other members of the Varo Guldru tribe. Yeah, so even the dwarf is there now with 2 long, kind of very sharp and wicked-looking blades slashing away at the base of it. Unfortunately, not enough, I'd say, to get the thing to release Aaron. So we're back round to the beginning of the initiative, and it's going to be interesting if we hit the choking Undine's part and Aaron hasn't gotten loose.
Look,
so
all I have to say, if you didn't want me, you didn't have to kill off my character in the second episode.
Gara, you have your turn, friend. You're on mute, by the way. You're on mute and you showed us a blank screen.
It was actually a 1. Here's the history to prove it.
I did see that it was a 1 before you did it, so that's all good. And a 1 means you hit Aaron, right? So what happened? No. So a 1 on attacks, you get an extra D6 to your damage rolls. So go ahead, please.
8 on the D10.
Nice.
And 5 on the D6.
That's absolutely great. Would it make you feel much worse if I told you only needed 2 anyway?
Thanks.
Gara, your arrow plunges into the heart of the thing. Whatever maybe luck, maybe instinct you had in your very first arrow seems to come through for you again. And the whatever it is, creature seems a wrong word. This being just kind of unfurls and flops apart, and with a great sort of ringed splash around the area, just falls apart and seems to dissipate entirely through the water. Has it gone? Has it fled? Has it ceased to exist? You don't know, and you suspect you never will. Aaron, you are on your knees in the swamp, taking huge lungfuls of air. And I think we can get rid of the initiative.
I will.
Great stuff.
Probably
Sarah, your clothing died for nothing.
I will, in the goblin tongue, let out some somewhat inappropriate screams of kind of "Get some! Number one!"
Sure.
What's goblin
Aaron,
for? You what, mate?
Yeah. Aaron, you feel yourself kind of hauled to your feet by the back of your lamellar armor, and a huge, enthusiastic and very strong hand kind of slams on your back to, make you cough out some horrible dank bog water. It's Attio, who seems to have finally arrived. Not because I've forgotten.
Oh, it's what's his face all over again.
Yeah,
Goblin whose name
yeah. I'm better at him now, but not of these characters. Clearly, there's a lot of NPCs, guys. Give me a
I
break.
think I try and give like a thank you for your assistance noise, but it just comes up as more.
Sure.
I'm going to make my way over to Aaron, because I was up near where the monster was by this point, wasn't I? So I am going to make my way over to the choking Aaron after dousing my shirt and lamenting.
I was going to say, make sure you do before your staff is just like this.
Just a little. Lamenting the loss of said shirt, and I am going to try and perform a medicus role, because I can see that he looks injured, and I want to check to see if there's been any actual permanent lung damage, if his brain is even stupider now.
Aaron, is there any response to this?
I don't think so. Do you think I was stupid before?
Oh yeah.
Oh. Okay. You have a very interesting bedside manner.
I've never been told that before.
Is anyone going to attempt to attend to Aaron or Shuglad, who've both been through the had a bad time?
I said I was going to make a medicus roll.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I completely missed that.
I wasn't just going there just to
just to insult
me.
Just to insult him.
You fucking loser.
I rolled a point and laugh at him. Yeah.
Natural one.
Sure. So that's a cunning roll, I believe, for medicus.
Yes, it is indeed. I don't know why I chose medicus when my cunning is 9, and again with the 16s. So.
No luck with that then. Anyone else got medicus that they want to apply? No, that's it. Eventually, kind of the group kind of forms more and gathers together after everyone wades over, and Mariol Kohinoor kind of comes to stand around, kind of looks around and says, "Is everyone all right?"
Better than ever.
More or less.
She looks over at Aaron and says, "Sadar?"
Yes.
All right then. I suppose we had best make our way forwards. Perhaps we were lucky to come this far without being attacked by some wretched thing.
I'll resume my kind of scouting watch up ahead with Elmea.
Okay.
As best we can with the slow going.
Absolutely. Then everyone is going to carry on proceeding through the marsh, and you know what that means. That means another roll.
Quick and
I was just going to say
something else
I'm
rolls.
going to loiter near all of those clerics that we've got in our party to see if any of them
that's
feel like taking pity on me.
I think that's fine. I think there are enough clerics within that missionary group, and Father Jarrow, is an accomplished medicus, I'd say. So I'm not going to make any kind of roll for it or whatever, but I'll say that from all their tending of you can get 1d4 toughness back.
Thank goodness.
And that can apply to Shugled as well. If Shugled is going to them, they won't go to you because they don't know you're injured, essentially. But if Shugled wants, he can also go for some medical attention.
I think I wouldn't go to them, so I will not take it for now.
Sure. How'd that D4 work out for you, John?
3.
Okay, it's not too bad. Not too bad. So making your way through the swamp again, friends. Let's have the physical roll first, shall we? So either quick -2 or vigilant -1 to try and not bang into anything underfoot.
Are we doing thumbs up if we make it? So, yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't make that, give me an armor roll, please.
It's a 4.
Valdemar is absolutely fine.
I mean, emotionally, he's damaged, but yeah.
Yeah, sure. Was that so? You rolled a 1?
That was a 1 success. Well, a 1 point on my armor roll.
Okay. Well, I mean, clearly you are exhausted after being kind of half drowned, and you managed to graze your knee on some kind of sharpened branch lurking under the water. So take 1 toughness, please.
What is Aaron's toughness now? What you are?
Currently at 4.
Yikes.
Could be worse.
Could
True.
be worse.
Could be dead.
Significantly worse.
Pretty sure it will be worse.
Yeah, probably. So, in addition to that, if everyone can also give me a strong test, please.
Oh, you had to say that. Sometimes you roll a 2.
Oh, I've totally forgotten. If you roll the number, like say, if my strong's 11 and I rolled an 11, you do make that,
you
right?
Succeeded, yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool.
So was the only person to fail on that, Chris?
Gara is at your disposal.
Sure. Well, given you rolled a 20, let's do something, a bit more special for this. What is your temporary corruption at currently? Just so I know I'm not going overboard.
I think I have.
Did you pass the first?
I have 2 temporary corruption. Yeah. So so I have 2 temporary corruption. My corruption threshold is 3.
Well then, in that case, I'm not going to do anything extra because I feel like the rules as they stand will do that for us.
Goodbye, everybody.
So, can you give me a D4 roll for temporary corruption, please?
Okay. Well, unless I roll a 0, I did roll a 1.
Great, then you only hit your corruption threshold. So, what happens for that is I believe you owe us another D4, which will then become permanent corruption.
Delightful. And if this is a 4...
if you roll a 3 or a 4, aren't you just...
an abomination.
I feel like this is going very badly compared to our main Symbaroum campaign.
That is such a low corruption threshold.
Is that because your resolute is 6?
My resolute is 5. It's my dump.
Oh.
So
you
have to roll a 1, right?
I have to roll a 1, I think. No, I have to roll a 1 or a 2. Because this eats the temporary, doesn't it? When we roll it into permanent, it eats the temporary and becomes permanent.
I don't think so.
No, that's a commonly accepted house rule because the corruption rules are so brutal. But the rules as written, you just add it on.
House rule.
Just putting it out there. House rules are great, Just
house rule has specific names as well.
I'm okay to cross the line of fate here. Are we all ready?
Well, we might have to roll it, but carry on. Carry on.
I did indeed roll a 1.
So there we go. So you now have 1 permanent corruption and however many 3 temporary corruption you have. What this does mean is that you are temporarily tainted. You have a stigma. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't you already have some kind of visual? You have got glowing green eyes, right?
Yeah.
Or faintly glowing green eyes. I'm going to say that as you're making your way through the swamp, you start to kind of like oddly lose yourself in sort of dark, morbid thoughts as you do so, and before long you realize you feel like you have tears rolling down your face, and you kind of reach up and dab them down and look, and some kind of horrible black oily liquid is running from your eyes like tears.
Nice. Also awful.
You are fairly sure it is this place, but I guess also struck by maybe a concern that even if it is this place, it could now be something inside you. What are you going to do about this?
I'll kind of discharge myself from scouting. It seems to be a fairly informal relationship anyway, sure. And kind of roll back towards the goblins and just go, Chief, I think the bog's got me.
It's looking bad. You need to be careful.
Don't think we came here to be careful, did we?
No, but this is not the way to go, Gara.
Are you going to make some effort to conceal this from individuals not of the Varaguldru?
I don't think so. I don't think I'd have a reason to.
People do tend to kill people who are, certainly the Church of Prios and people who follow it tend to look very ill on corrupted individuals, and you never know what a reaction might be to this.
I think what I'll do is I will make sure to continue to only keep company of non-Ambrians.
Sure. So you're just kind of lurking within the goblins and hoping other people don't notice. Okay. The rest of the journey through the marsh goes essentially without a hitch, although it's still extremely unpleasant. About an hour after your encounter with the Undine, you start to see the land rise in front of you to the north. You see drier land rearing out of this fen, and before long, through the mist, you also see what looks like a small wooden pier, a pier with figures standing still on it and seemingly watching your approach. Let's say, obviously, Elle is out at the front, but I'll have a quick roll here and say who is perhaps near her and in a position to do something about that. Well, that's Gara. So I'll just say the Varaguldru as a whole are kind of a bit further forward than the others.
I'll maybe say to Elmire, are we expecting people here?
She turns over her shoulder and says, there are some villages nearby.
They friendly?
They should be. She takes kind of one pace forward and calls out something in a language you do not understand. Vardamar, you hear somewhere in front of you, Elmire is calling out a greeting in her tribe's language in Zarek.
Do I understand this pretty well?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make my way over that way and just see what's going on.
So at this point, other people will start to kind of come into view at this. You see a few individuals walk up this small pier further towards you. They're all wearing quite simple but hardy garb. Several of them have fishing nets kind of slung over their shoulder or pinned at their waist. And it quickly becomes apparent that all of them have some form of affectation, whether it's kind of paint or a brightly coloured piece of cloth pinned to them or a feather in their hair, and all of them seem to be either in a bright orange, bright blue or bright green, which matches the 3 kind of paint markings along one side of Elmea's head. They shout some words back to Elmea, and they converse for a short while Mariel kind of stands near her, kind of looking interested in the exchange, but also clearly not understanding it in any way. Vardamar, I'd say this is a language you've got a pretty good grip on. Why don't you give me a cunning roll at +4?
+4, so got to beat a 17. Yeah, that's an 11.
Yeah, you follow this this exchange quite well. The villagers seem to essentially be saying that there is room in the village. If you are friendly and wish to stay there overnight, then if some goods are traded to them, they would be more than happy to let you stay. And also, you know what? Give me a vigilant roll on top of that as well.
Not my best, eh? 3, so yes, I did make that one. Okay.
You see a few glances shared between the villagers, in a sense that's not in a malicious sense or anything, just kind of like one of them is speaking to the other and kind of indicating your group and looking kind of questioningly, like you get the sense that perhaps they see there's some kind of opportunity here.
Okay. Do I get the sense Elmea's clocked this as well, or is this just...
Yeah, you think so. You think so. She seems pretty kind of observant.
Okay. When she's sort of, there's a break in the conversation, I just want to lean over. Are they thinking they want to trade with us, or are they perhaps thinking we're something a little more exploitable?
Elmea turns to you and says quite quietly, I think they want some trade for staying, but there does seem to be something else, doesn't there?
Mm-hmm. Are these friends of yours, or just people you would know by association?
I don't know these people, but they are of my tribe.
All right.
Clan. She should say clan rather than tribe.
Well, there are enough of us that I think we can watch each other's backs at the very least if we enter there, but is the plan to stay the night?
Mariol, who's kind of quite near the two of you, says, yes, I think so. We could all use drying out, and I think the young man over there could do with a good night's rest. I imagine Aaron has been kind of like kind of hacking and coughing on his way through the swamp. A brief exchange happens between Elmea and the Zareks, and an agreement is clearly reached. Mariol and the others kind of leave the swamp and move up the rise, and Mariol immediately kind of gets Iaso to package out some kind of finely made Ambrian tools and blades, and passes them over to them when the elders of the village kind of examine them, seem satisfied, and wave everyone through. Obviously, you've got quite a big group now. There's, you as players, there's a Varaguldru, there's Mariol's helpers and bodyguard and the dwarf, and there's also Father Jarrow and the missionaries, and everyone kind of walks up this rise and kind of over it, and you see a patch of much drier land with some sparse vegetation over it, and the forest not more than half a kilometre the edge of it away, and now that you're out of the fog of the Mire, you can see the lake again over to the east, and kind of a big, wide, almost mirror-like body of water. And in that open area, there is a not inconsiderably sized barbarian village with some very well-constructed thatched roof structures, and a central area that seems to have a large bonfire, and a number of jetties out into both the swamp and the lake that have some kind of very small fishing vessels on them, kind of little boats and coracles and things of that nature. Yeah.
So basically, now that we're a little bit more, we're more out of danger, I'm going to just kind of quietly check in with Orel and just kind of ask how he's doing. I don't know how shook up by that whole thing he was. He seems quite frail in comparison.
No, he does, but he's you and he have both. You've seen some stuff. And he doesn't seem particularly phased by it, especially since Aaron and Shuglud were dragged out of the thing. And he says, "No, I'm fine. It'll be good to feel safe for a night."
I'll just nod in agreement and just kind of send over a mental note that we should both keep a close eye on Iaso whilst maintaining as much distance as possible.
Absolutely.
So
you're shown to what appears to be kind of a large empty hut, presumably for guests and visitors. And it's pretty basic. There's a fire pit in the center of it and a circular hole in the thatched roof above. And there's there's no beds, but there are kind of like quite thick treated furs thrown out sporadically on the floor for people to lie down on. It can definitely fit the whole party, but it's going to be cozy.
In Goblin, I'll say to Gara, maybe we should camp outside. The humans won't like it if they see.
I was going to say the same thing. Be ashamed to deprive the lads of a nice fire, though.
Still, I don't want, especially with these priests traveling with us. They don't like that kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll set up camp a little bit out. We can excuse ourselves by saying we're keeping watch or something.
Yeah.
They probably don't. I wouldn't say the tribesmen want us there anyway.
Shuglud, how do you go about this? Who are you telling and how are you telling them?
I think I'll talk to Atio. I'll just say to him, we don't want to camp in here. Seems too crowded. We're going to find a space outside, not too far away, but we'll keep watch.
Atio kind of like peers at you a bit blearily and says, "All right, that's fine by me. More room in there anyway."
Yeah.
Strides in. As you kind of turn away, Elmea, the guide, is stood near you and just briefly puts a hand kind of on your arm just to stop you in position and just says, "Watch your archer. These places do odd things to some."
Yes, he's suffering, but I'm sure in the morning he'll be better. Thank you.
She nods and says, "Probably." Walks away. As you progress towards the evening here, a large fire, a bonfire, is built in that central cleared area. I said most of the Zarek villagers here kind of sit around, kind of some in family groups. Some you see some kind of like a small group of musicians starting to play. Some craftspeople kind of tutoring each other and showing each other things, and a huge rack of fish is kind of lent near the bonfire to slowly cook. Mariol and Iaso and the dwarf have kind of headed over and are talking to some of the clan elders. What is everyone else doing? And let's go through the group kind of one by one, I think. Gara, what are you doing?
So I think I'm going to be staying, like, not really near the village. I'll be trying to stay with the Ularvara Goldra if I can coax them to maybe being a bit more quiet and pensive in the corner. I think I am a little bit shook over the whole situation. I'm feeling a bit more exposed now, and the reality of the requirements upon me are setting in. I also am going to try and get a number. I'm going to try and convince a goblin to go and like bring back some food and drink, so it's not going to be a completely cold fire.
Sure, you like the other goblins seem fairly keen on having a sit by the fire, and you convince Alf Bolg, the kind of large muscular goblin, to kind of. He's like, "Oh, I'll get you some food," and wanders off and stays away perhaps a bit too long than he should, given your request, but still comes back with like kind of half a well kind of roasted fish. that he hands over to you and goes to lie by your own little fire, which is just outside the village, and pretty soon you can hear his snoring. Your temporary corruption goes away at this point, by the way.
Great.
So you can get rid of that, but your stigma will stay for around 24 hours.
Okay.
That's the length of time it stays for if it's temporary stigma, which is what yours is. The only other thing I'd say, there is natural healing in this, which for some reason, everyone can recover a point of toughness, should they have any toughness to recover. Let's see what the next individual is doing, and that individual will be Elle. So what's Farah doing while all this is happening?
So Farah is kind of sat trying to listen in on whatever Mariol, Iaso, and who else was with them? Was it
I think I said the dwarf whose name temporarily escaped, Vlador.
Yeah. So I mean, she's trying to do it like inconspicuously. So she's like just staring into the campfire or whatever, but like trying to listen in on whatever they're talking about, just to make sure that they're not talking about her.
Sure, absolutely.
She's not paranoid. What are you talking about? It's fine.
I'd say that, so I think this is a vigilant roll. I'd say that it probably is pretty flat, because while they are talking quite privately, like the amount of noise around the fire kind of helps and hinders you in that there's so many people, it's difficult to tell you're overhearing, but at the same time, whatever. So yeah, just a flat vigilant roll, please.
I'm believing to think this dice is cursed, because once again, I rolled a 16.
There we go, them 16s. Yeah, you don't manage to overhear exactly what they're saying, but if it helps, no one is looking at you. Well, quite a few of the clan's people are looking at you, but they're looking at everyone.
Okay.
Kind of, like a curiosity, but a kind of gentle, measured curiosity. You get the sense that people do come through here, you know? They're not like a completely isolated settlement or anything.
I'm going to keep my guard up, but settle down a bit more. I'm not actively trying to like listen. I'm trying to let myself settle into the food and fire a bit.
Sure, absolutely. Vardamar, what are you doing while all this is going on?
I think Vardamar still has in the back of his head that glimmer of that opportunistic sense that he caught there. So I think he's going to just try and chat with some of the villagers who are not currently negotiating with Mariel and company there, and just try to be, a little bit of a chat, get some of the local gossip there, and try to get a sense of what, if anything, they might have seen in us.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think, you are also of a clan, albeit not theirs. So I think I'll give you a bit of a plus on that as well. Why don't you give me a persuasive roll at +1, please?
Okay, so going to be 12. 8.
Yeah. Almost immediately you start hearing them talking in quite both disparaging and fearful tones.
Oh, good.
About sorry, absolute mind blank trying to find a word here, about the Varaco. The Varaco is another barbarian clan who are their lands are somewhat near here. They're mostly within what is now Ambria, and they're viewed by a lot of the other clans as being very I suppose, pacified by the Ambrians. But then the Varric, the Zarakov, rather, are often seen in the same way. But they seem to be talking about a group of them who have been reaving the lands near here and reaving other Zarek settlements recently. And while they're talking of these things, they are kind of eyeing your group speculatively.
If I put it out there that I thought they were looking for us to do some slight mercenary work, or perhaps to defend the village or wipe out this other guy, would that be a fair guess?
Yeah, from what you've heard, it definitely wouldn't be. Yeah, you can imagine that.
Okay. But we're not kind of, we'll send them off on a suicide mission and hope for the best. Like it would be.
No. It seems to, it's a threat to them, but they think maybe it's one that you could meet.
Okay. When there's a good chance, then I think I'm going to try and find some time with Elle and see if she corroborates the same thing.
You can kind of go, actually Elle has been co-opted by Mariol into the conversation with the village elders, and after a while that seems to resolve and she walks away from it, and she's walking near you if you want to grab her for a quick talk.
Yeah, I'll just grab some time and just lay it out. It does look like these tribes people are having more than their fair share of trouble with the neighboring group and might look to us to solve some of their problem.
She nods and says, it's kind of like gnawing on a kind of dried length of fish as she's doing it, and says, "You have good ears."
They don't seem too shy about any of it, though. The question is, are we on some kind of timetable that would prevent us from helping if that's what they ask in return for hospitality?
Only the usual timetable of spend as little time under the trees as possible.
Fair enough. I'll ask you... Sorry, go on.
The princess, she's interested. They're offering guides and more supplies. And some individuals to send word to watch over the caravans.
Well, it could cut down on some of our risk then. What do you know of this other tribe, or at least the other village that they've been speaking of?
The Varaco, it sounds like a raiding party that's been around here for some weeks now. Somehow they've gotten hold of a large Ambrian boat, and they've been reaving the territory along the shores of the lake. If you ask me, it's someone is paying someone to do these things, but that's not our concern. There's a blood feud between their people and mine.
Well, that'll make deciding who's the good guys a lot easier then. Okay. Yeah, I think otherwise I will... Yeah, if there's nothing else, then I'll go get some food. But I do, because my suspicions are just raised, I do want to keep an eye on Gideon to see if he wanders off again and has any little midnight chats.
Sure. He does not. He's kind of bundled up and fallen asleep by very close to the bonfire. I mean, it's been a cold day for everyone.
Sure.
Shuglud, what are you doing?
Probably staying with the rest of the Varagoldru for the most part. Maybe joking a little bit about how the humans are useless, and it's only thanks to the goblins that we killed this Undine, especially the arrows of Gara. Try and cheer him up a bit.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. What you know? What I think that's a good rationale. Why don't you give me a persuasive roll at a +3 there to see how much you buoy up the spirits of the Varagoldru.
All right, I need an 18. Persuasive with my good stat, and I got a 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the Varagoldru are in good spirits as night falls and the watchfire burns low. I mean, it's debatable whether the Varagoldru are in good spirits, even if they were up against horrific odds, because that's kind of their jam. But yeah, nevertheless. So just staying around the Varagoldru campfire, no kind of attempts to interact with anyone else, or
perhaps if I at some point go to the main camp to get some food or something, I might briefly and in complete contradiction to what I've been saying to the Varagoldru, go and thank Vardamar for getting me out of the Undine when I was in a bit of trouble.
Sure. Well, why don't we have a little scene there? Let's say you approach Vardamar just after he stopped speaking to Elle, probably near the bonfire, right?
Yeah. Vardamar, just wanted to thank you for your help earlier. It was a bad situation.
Wasn't good for any of us, but I hope I didn't ruin your plans for dying a glorious death.
No, we better to kill than be killed, and today we came out on top. that was largely thanks to you, at least as far as my health was concerned.
Well, I was quite content, obviously, to let Aaron die, because, I mean, honestly, who cares? It's totally fine. Yeah, I think Vardamar's just going to nod and maybe pass him a fish as we're sitting down. I know something of your quest to end it gloriously and to have an epic end there. I trust most of the rest of us aren't quite as keen to go so quickly. So I hope for the rest of your group and clan's sake, we will get as far as we can before you achieve your goal.
Yeah, I agree. It's strange to be out here with people who perhaps do not share our goals or our intentions at the very least, but hopefully those who want to get back safe do so, and we'll be left to fight something worth dying for.
Jerry. So, Aaron, what are you doing this evening, other than presumably recovering heavily?
Yeah, I am finding myself a nice toasty place by the fire, laying out my equipment to dry, as well as me. Probably taking off my armor and laying it out, because while most of it is like hardened leather, there's probably a few bits in there that could rot if I leave it to be wet. And I have no idea how I would go about this, or if Aaron knows how he would go about this, but he's going to sort of to nearby people, gesture vaguely at the scrapes and runes, and try and get some kind of herbal cure or medicine or something, possibly in exchange for some spare equipment he's got. He doesn't have much plan, neither do I.
Is he going to gesticulate with said equipment to try and offer a trade? Okay, well, I don't know how well you can make yourself understood in this situation. So why don't you give me a persuasive roll? But I think it's a fairly clear visual thing to try and express, I'm hurt, trade medicine for this sort of thing. So why don't you give me a persuasive roll that's +3?
Persuasive, ooh, nice. So my target is 14. And I roll a 9. Success.
Okay. Yeah, you managed to make yourself understood fairly clearly. There's a Zarek kind of sat near you who has kind of almost kind of like a mask of orange, green, and blue paint over his face, like an older man. Maybe it means something, and the amount of the color somehow signifies some sort of rank or age or experience, and it's kind of painted in swirls on his face. He sits down near you fairly early in the night and kind of smiles quite friendly at you, and as the night goes on, kind of passes you a bit of fish from the rack that he's tending, and you manage to kind of make yourself understood to him, and he kind of nods in assent. What are you offering, incidentally?
So I came into Thistlehold with camping gear, and in Thistlehold I was sold probably very low quality field equipment, and I imagine there's going to be some kind of duplicate between those two sets of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we could say a tin cup or a vessel for cooking in, or something like that. He takes kind of a tin cup off you and looks quite pleased with it, and goes away and comes back with what seems to be a kind of a healing salve. And as you kind of look, because you don't have Medicus yourself, right? So you're not too clear on how to use these things. He kind of leans over you and kind of tips your head up with a finger and kind of looks around and kind of puts an ear to your face briefly, nods in understanding, and literally kind of unbuttons the front of your shirt and starts rubbing this salve on your chest, and instantly you like it has a sharp, tangy scent. Yeah, it's eucalyptus or something similar, right? Yeah, and you can instantly feel like your lungs opening up and you start to breathe a lot easier. Give me take a D4 toughness heal, please.
That is the full 4.
Nice,
very nice.
But more importantly, did you get any carrots for the horses along with this salve?
I doubt it, but horses can eat fish, right?
Horses will eat fish. Whether they should or not is another matter. So I think that's everyone kind of for the evening. So why don't we go ahead? I think don't forget, if you haven't already, to take another point of toughness as you're healing for overnight. And everyone can go to sleep either in that sort of central hut where they're putting you up, or the Varaguldru's little camp, as you prefer. And the morning arrives to no great horror or tragedy awaiting you. The sun shining over Lake Volgoma in rather a picturesque manner, actually. The fog and mist seems to have died out over the marshland that you've just come through, and you can actually kind of almost see the far end of it, even through kind of the haze coming off the bog water. And as everyone is kind of rousing and getting their gear together, Mariol walks into that sort of central hut that you're all sleeping in. Do the Varaguldru feel that they might coincidentally be nearby enough to hear this, or do you want to go ahead and not be in this scene? It's up to you guys.
I'll kind of opt out, but we'll kind of, if I see them gathering, we'll kind of kick Chuglud into action.
Sure.
Yeah, I think if I saw Mariel going in there looking like she had something to say, I might go and try and listen to hear what's going on, basically.
Sure. As kind of Mariel wanders in, Aaron, you're kind of you've been kind of like packing up your goods and your supplies again. And as you do so, kind of you slept next to where Iarso was bedded, and as you do so, you overhear him kind of like grumbling in kind of a deep voice about. He's saying some not so pleasant things about having to spend time among so many barbarians. On the other side of him, Elmea is kind of packing her bag together. Doesn't seem to visually register it at all.
Can I try and catch Elmea's eye? Yeah, you know what? Yeah, go for it. God, persuasive. Yeah, just flat persuasive. Let's do that. Let's go with that. Natural 20.
You've grown up in the same system of institutionalized racism as the rest of Ambrians, and you know what? Shall we say that for this, in just pure. I'm not saying Aaron is racist against barbarians, but purely in an effort to kind of the taxi driver experience.
Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, I know it well.
Just to get someone to shut up, you give vague mumbling noises of agreement. How about that?
Oh. I mean, I don't like it, but it is. Yeah.
You can address it later, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh no.
Oh, Aaron.
Oh, Aaron.
I'm glad that I'm not the racist one this playthrough.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of hate.
I mean, not yet. We're all one bad roll away from being a racist, apparently.
True.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, as I say, Mariel comes in and she says, "Everyone, if I could have a moment." The Zareks of this village have offered us further help. They've offered us considerable supplies, extra guides to lead us to our destination, and sending someone, or at least someone to contact someone who will help watch over the caravans with Telkeen. This isn't for free, obviously. They want help with a group from another clan, a hostile clan called the Veraco. Not hostile towards Ambrians, but towards these Zareks, who they seem to have some kind of ancestral feud with. They have taken control of an Ambrian vessel out on the lake and are using it to raid and pirate up and down the western shores. They're willing to give us some small vessels to go find them and then deal with them. Oh, and they'll take the missionaries off our hands. The missionaries are right there, by the way. A few of the younger ones kind of look a bit taken affront at this, but Father Jarrow kind of goes, oh, it's fine, it's all good.
I'll just ask, are we expected to do this before or after our main mission?
We will do it before we strike out, unless anyone has any significant objections.
I'll just shrug.
Your swords are why you're here, after all, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't like getting involved with more people, but if it'll help us come back out alive, I'm willing.
I can understand your reticence, but the extra supplies are not to be sniffed at. Dar, are you up to this?
Yes, I am much recovered thanks to this place.
Good.
I'm fine, and I'm ready to go.
That's not going to make up for agreeing with you.
My sword is at your service.
Sure. So, through the morning, as I say, you're provided with 3 boats, kind of, when I say fishing boats, don't think of, a boat that will go out for fishing now. Think of it more like a large rowboat or like a lifeboat from like an older ship of the line or something, right? It can fit about 10 people in. It has a very rudimentary sail, but it also can be rowed. They provide you with 3 of those, which is more than enough, but it depends, I guess, how you want to split up the group. The intention, Mariel says, she says she's no warrior, and she'll be remaining at the village. Also remaining at the village will be Gedeon, the scholar, and also, who is that? Everyone. That might be everyone. Yeah, that's everyone. Unless, Farah, you want your companion to stay behind?
No, I would rather. I'd feel safer, although I suppose we could maintain. I think we could still maintain our link.
You absolutely could. Yes.
Yeah, in that case, yes. I want him to stay here.
Just to be a bit safer here.
But he needs to, in that very kind of familial way. It's like, but you need to call me every day.
You need to telepathically.
Yeah.
You need to do the shining with me every day.
Yeah.
And wear a jacket if you go outside.
Exactly. Be nice to the people. Say please and thank you.
Absolutely. So, and obviously the missionaries and Father Jarrow are staying behind us.
We don't care about them.
No. I haven't even cared enough about the missionaries to name them. So, with that in mind, I think the total number of people that we have is obviously there's you 5. There's another 4 in the Varaguldru. There is Serix Atio as well, which brings us to 10. And then Vlador, Iaso, and Elmea are going with you as well. So that's 13. You have 3 boats that take 10 people each. While obviously the opinions of the NPCs will matter to a certain degree, what does this group think would be the best kind of arrangement? Do you you could at a push pack everyone into one boat, you could split out a lot more among 3, or you could basically have about 7-ish people in 2 boats. What's the feel of how you're going to strike out here?
Try and find a way to get the Varaguldru on one boat. I think Shuglud would agree.
Yeah, just make sure we're all together on one boat, preferably alone on one boat. I think.
Sure. I think that's absolutely fine, and everyone else could fit in the one boat then, if that's the idea.
Do we know how many people we're up against roughly?
They don't know for sure. They'd say they're almost certain that it's no more than 20. But it could be less than between 10 and 20. Okay. Let's say that's their best guess. But these raiders have only kind of been seen from afar. They've mainly been raiding smaller settlements. Not that the village is particularly big, but there are a lot more kind of sporadic settlements and very small hamlets along the edge of this lake. And they've mostly been hitting those because that village, it has 15 or so warriors to defend it. So why risk it when you can strike more vulnerable targets?
Sure.
Are we going to be coming back to the village before we then embark on our main?
Yeah, that's the idea. Cool. You're going out, finding these pirates, essentially, or Vikings in a way. They're certainly committing the act of Viking, and then coming back, presumably with proof that you've done it, and then you'll head off further on your journey.
Fantastic.
I would say I'd probably say we think they only have one boat, right?
That is apparently the case, yes.
Then 2 boats make sense because then we have one more boat than them.
That's the rule of naval combat.
Everybody knows the person with the most boats wins.
But if you have too many boats,
controls the lake.
Yeah.
But if you have too many boats, then you just get in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually true. So
I would like to, before we set out, I would like to rig up like a face covering under the auspices of reducing glare while on the water to cover up as much of the stigma as I can.
Well, you know what, Chris? I'd say that it's the morning and these boats have to be prepared, and you're probably not ready to leave the village in the boats until noon or so. And you know what? I'd say by that time, it's actually starting to wear off for you.
Oh, okay.
So if you want, you can still rig up a face covering. It wouldn't draw any extra glances. Goblins frequently do actually wear face coverings and wooden masks and things of the like. So it's up to you entirely. But for what it's worth, it's definitely kind of, they're now just vague smears that you have to wipe off every now and then.
I do think Gara is still shook, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of make this little kind of mask covering and be a bit evasive for the rest of the day. Definitely spend time with the family, with the clan.
Sure, and absolutely. And I think, I never really offered anyone else a roll to see if they actually spotted this. But I think I will do now after all this time has passed. So everyone who's not a goblin, can you give a vigilant roll at -5, please? Because I think Gara was fairly careful and stuck to the Varagul, but still,
No, I rolled a 10.
Cool. No one noticed your corrupt face.
Stealth gobbo.
Stealth corrupt face gobbo. So, yeah. So has anyone in the group, and other NPCs can suggest things if you guys don't have any particular suggestion on how to maybe go about this. So the information that's been passed on to you, they've been raiding along the western shores from a large boat that seems to be an Ambrian one, and they've pointed you in the rough direction of what they think might be their anchorage, and that rough direction was southeast. They haven't said go along the river shore until you see a rock, and then it's literally just we think they come from that direction somewhere. So does anyone have any ideas for how to go about this, and whether you want to come up with those yourselves, or ask me if you want to do a roll or whatever, or even let's have a little party debate, shall we? Because it feels like we haven't had one of those. So let's have those, and I might throw in a bit from an NPC every now and then as well.
I was thinking that we could, once we stumble across these pirates, as it were, if they're interested wholly in making profit, we could offer to trade with them, and when their guard is down, that's just what I think.
That seems very deceitful.
And pirates are they have a very good moral code, or so I hear. We should
Doesn't
definitely
mean you need to go down to their level.
We're meant to be dealing with them, aren't we? What other way?
We're meant to be better than them.
How how do you suggest we do this without violence?
I never said without violence. Just
a nobler form of violence, then?
Well, yes.
But if deceit means that we suffer less casualties on our side, I would rather be deceitful than charge in honourably.
Could we use one of the boats as a slightly weaker bit of bait and then have the other just out of range or sight then, and then swoop in and deal a finishing blow while they're focused on it?
Might save us chasing them around.
How are we going to find them? Does Omea know the location of any of the villages down that coast where they've been seen?
I don't know them precisely, but I could give you a rough estimation of the distances between them. There are also a number of smallish islands off the shore. We passed a few of them. It's possible that one of those is being used as an anchorage. But there's no way to tell without, well, going and looking.
Basically, I don't think there's any way that we can do this without drawing attention to ourselves, which isn't what I'd like. However, if we leave none left alive to tell the tale, I see no problem with this.
I'm just hoping we draw attention to something that's distracting with one hand while we punch them in the face with the other.
I'll turn to either Shublood or Gra. No, because they're on a separate ship to me, so I won't at all do that.
I think this is before you've set out, so I think that's perfectly reasonable.
I'll just, in my usual blunt way, just be like, you guys seem to have put no value upon your life. Would you be happy to act as a decoy and then get involved in the violence once we've started it?
What do you think, Gra?
I'm a little hurt. I think we go ahead and get on their boat and kill them all before these Ambrian softies have a chance to get near us.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking we just sail or row at them as fast as we can and kill them.
Yeah.
Is this the good, honest violence you were looking for, Aaron?
It seems more honest than lying to them.
If they're going to end up dead, what does it matter?
Look, I just...
It's the principle of the thing, is it? Yindaros, man.
Even if they die...
I'm sure their gratitude will be immense as they slowly die with a slit throat, thinking, well, at least those good and dear goblins and men didn't, lie to them.
It's not about their gratitude. It's about sleeping the night after.
Farah, if it makes you feel Farah, if it makes you feel any better as we are killing them, I will personally lie to at least one of them.
Excellent. Good. That's my strategy. Cool. Fabulous.
I think our problem is going to be finding them. I guess we just sail southeast, investigate any islands we come across, and...
Would someone, please, ask the priests if they saw another ship on their path? Please, not me.
I am not doing this. Maybe Orel's nice and he likes to talk to people. Maybe he could be good at that.
Why does everyone hate God-fearing missionaries?
We have a volunteer. Great.
Go talk to them.
And the reason
They're
is...
perfectly friendly.
They're perfectly friendly. We come into the forest to die. They come into the forest for some goodness knows what.
Okay. Sounds like Aaron is going to talk to Father Jarrow and the missionaries.
Yes.
Has been volunteered.
You stride back up the gentle hillside to there. The missionaries are out. They are sat by the bonfire. A couple of them are talking to each other. One of them is kind of patching a robe. Father Jarrow is sort of evidently speaking to them to buoy up their spirits. And another one of them still is talking to a Zarek villager. And she has a kind of book open in front of her with images of Prios and the sun, and is kind of explaining in quite, you aren't aware of this, I suppose, but in broken Zarek, about Prios and his eternal warming love. But yeah, Jarrow kind of turns as you approach. Oh, Sadar, is it? Hello.
Hello, Father. We were wondering whether on your journey up the river you saw any other boats, ships, boats.
Yes. Well, I think we saw quite a few. Is there any one in particular that that you think we might recognize?
Possibly an Ambrian ship piloted by not Ambrians.
Oh. You know what? Let's roll to see how well you've described that. Why don't you give me a persuasive roll, please? And it is valid information. I'll give you a +1 for each valuable, useful bit of information there. So it's a +2, persuasive +2.
Okay, so I'm aiming for 13. I roll a 4. Perfect description.
Yes. You know what? I don't think I noticed that vessel myself. But one of my novices here, he kind of looks down, and another one of his novices, she's looking up, having overheard this, and said, "Yes, I remember that. I remarked on it, didn't I, Father? Yes, you did, and I don't think I paid any attention to it at the time over much, I'm afraid to say." She says, "Yes, an island, not too far from where we went ashore. It had a copse of trees on it, and a what looked like maybe an old burned building. And just off that, there was anchored up quite a large boat. Yes, but yes, it had barbarian folk on it, not Ambrians. I remember thinking, because some of them, but not clothes like these Zarek though. Much more wearing linens, and I think I'd seen some folk of that kind in caravans in Ambrian lands, and they were traders there."
That sounds like exactly the boat we need. Thank you, both of you.
Oh, I'm clearly Prios was guiding my eyes that day.
Clearly. I don't suppose, Father, before we set sail, you could say a good word quickly.
Joe says, "Oh, yes, of course, my son. Do you want? Should I come do so with your companions, or do you wish to receive the blessing of Prius alone?"
I think alone.
He nods.
Hopefully, I will take Prius's light with me.
Kind of stands to one side with you and says Prius blessing over you, and presumably you feel somewhat heartened by this.
Yeah, it's made me feel better.
Yeah, no mechanical effect. So,
of course not.
Of course not. So, you can head back down to the boats and fill the group in.
One of the acolytes saw an Ambrian ship with non-Ambrians and not Zareks. An island near where we found them, with trees and a burnt building. That sounds like them.
Useful fool is both useful and a fool, these priests. Do we go in after dark?
They may know these waters better than we do. I think if we have a boat full of goblins making a good ruckus, we can distract their attention and get them to come to us.
Yeah,
good ruckus.
Like the present.
I'm not joking when I say you will find nothing but corpses on that ship.
If they moor on the island, then if we could get the boat away from them and fight them on land.
Or leave them there to starve on said island.
I would say that it wasn't mentioned that they're moored on the island, but they saw the ship near the island.
Right. Okay. Never mind then.
It's, I know they don't have the larger lakes up north, Vardamar, but down here it's possible to swim in these waters.
I'm just hoping a little bit of corruption can pull at them the further they swim away.
Our luck does not run that clean.
So as this conversation is continuing, the likes of kind of Iaso and the dwarf are clearly getting somewhat impatient and are encouraging the group to set off and at least go see what's going on. So I think we settled on all of Araguldra in one boat, everyone else in the other. Why don't we have... I think we need a roll, and I think we need a roll to see how well we move these boats around the lake, being as, none of you are particularly water folk. So why don't we... what's an appropriate... I think it's probably strong, right? To be able to maneuver these boats around. So why don't we have... And I'm looking just for one success here from one person. That's fine. So
it's not me.
Why don't we see how the goblins do? So Shugled and Garar both give me a strong roll. And I'm just looking for one success between the two of you. Nope. How does Shugled do, Sam?
I made it. I got an 8. I needed 13.
Okay, so the Varaguldru's vessel is definitely being navigated along the shores of Lake Volgoma perfectly satisfactorily. So Aaron, Vardamar, and Farah, why don't you all give me a strong roll? Hey, there we go.
Let's aim for 10 and I rolled 5.
That's absolutely fine. So under perhaps the guidance, maybe Sir Arendar has, managed to... be aboard a vessel before. Either way, that ship makes its way down the shores of the lake in a perfectly satisfactory way as well. And before long, you're starting to come across definitely an area of the shore within the next couple of hours where there are quite frequent islands just offshore, and you can see some even larger ones kind of further into the reaches of the lake. But as you're moving along, I assume everyone is kind of trying to keep an eye out for the island as described.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You pass a fair amount of other boats and ships as well, mostly at a distance further off into the lake. There's obviously quite a lot of trade and travel around these parts, and the lake is safer than the forest. So you are definitely not alone here. Why doesn't everyone give me, please, a vigilant roll? And you know what you're looking for. So why don't you give me everyone give me a vigilant roll at +1. And also, Steve, while we're doing this, why don't you pop up that lovely lake picture by Martin Grip for us to have as inspiration for this. So thumbs up, lots of thumbs up. Yeah. So everyone who made that roll, as you're traveling along the shore of the lake, there's a number of islands nearby, as I say, but after about 3 hours of rowing along the lake shore, you see an island ahead of you that has it's a reasonable size, and it seems to have a copse of trees on it and a darkened form within the copse that could certainly be a old burned building. There is no sign of a boat, but you cannot see on the other side of the island.
That looks like a place.
Yep.
I think we'll... do you reckon the others have seen it? I reckon the others have seen it. I think we go around the island and just... They should take the initiative and land. Or they'll come with us, whatever they decide.
Yeah. I think your boats are close enough that you have to call to each other, but you're I think you can communicate.
Think it's straight and true, Chief.
Yeah. I'll call across the other boat. We're going around the island.
Should we go around the other side?
Yes, I think pincer sort of formation might be good here.
Elmea speaks up and says, "Do we not wish to check first? If we rowed ashore, I could travel to the other side of the island. It looks like it would take but minutes."
Or that.
All right. I'll steer us up against it, I guess.
Obviously, you don't have to do what Elmea says. Just a suggestion from her.
It's a sensible plan, I think.
Anything to stop rowing.
Just hope
It's not that bad.
Hope by the time she gets back, we have enough time to then make it the rest of the way around the island to help out, because I don't want to give these goblins all the glory here.
Sure. So, you kind of go nearby to the edge of the island. Elmea kind of slips off and wades through the still waters onto the shores of it. She looks over at the Varaguldru boat and says, "I could do with the archer's eyes."
Your call, Chief.
I'll leave this one up to you. You know best.
So that I can shoot as well and land as I can from the water. I'll jump off.
Okay, so is the plan? Are you waiting here for Elmea to report back, or are you just all heading off again?
I vote for waiting.
I think we're heading off. They can walk to the other side of the island, and we'll meet them there.
Okay. What about the other boat?
I guess if they're going to the other side of the island and they're going to the other side of the island, then it would make sense for us to go around the island to the same place. Otherwise, we're just going to be opposite ends of the island.
It does, but then it kind of renders the scouting a little bit redundant.
I vote that we stay here. If the party... It's a small enough island. If the party finds anyone, we'll likely be able to hear them. Also, this way we could... if we stay here and anyone runs towards us, we can engage them.
That is true. All right. How does steady here?
The dwarf Vlador, who is normally very quiet, just kind of leans forward and says, "It is a remarkable plan to allow your scouts to go forth to gain information and then strike before they can return with it."
I just say nothing because and glower at him because I don't appreciate this mockery.
I'm assuming that the goblins, without any giving no shits whatsoever, and just carrying on rowing away, ready to round the island. Okay, so on the island, Elmea and Garra, you start making your way forwards. As I say, it's not a very large island. It's mainly a large copse of trees. Before a minute has passed, you're passing that burned, ruined building. Which, you know what? Give me a cunning roll. I don't know, +2. Sorry, was that a success? I was just checking chat. Yeah. It looks like an old fishing lodge to you. Burned, but not burned too long ago, in all honesty.
Okay.
You'd expect maybe the last couple of years or so. Are you having a look around there, or are you just proceeding onwards? Elmea doesn't seem to be. He's proceeding onwards, but kind of slowly and cautiously. So if you wanted, you could take a quick look around.
I'm going to kind of take a look around. My concern is, does it look like this is a staging or sleeping area for them, or do we think they're keeping to the boat?
No one is spending time in this wreck of a building.
Okay, yeah, I'll continue to kind of stealthily make my way forwards to figure out what's on the far side.
So you're kind of ignoring the building and moving on, basically.
Yeah.
So you emerge not out of the copse on the other side of the island, but close enough to the edge of it to be able to peer through the trees and see what's happening on the opposite shore. There is a large boat, seemingly of Ambrian make, that is anchored not too far offshore here. You can see people moving around on it, and they seem to be as described by the missionary. They are almost certainly, they are either barbarian folk or dressed as them. And they are also definitely not Zarex. They are all seemingly armed, and they're just kind of wandering around, being quite loud and kind of generally boisterous, but not seemingly making any move to kind of like pilot the ship anywhere.
Are they keeping watch, or are they just kind of milling?
There is one individual in the kind of prow of the ship, kind of looking around, but looking around lazily, you'd say.
And what's the range on this? Is if I was still on shore, could I get clean shots in, or is it too far?
It's not. No, it's not too far for a shot. Although it's kind of getting towards the edge of your range.
And is the boat tied up? Is there a line running to the water?
Yeah, it's anchored somehow.
Yeah,
and yes, there is a line running into the water.
I think my plan is to dispatch the other scout, and I'm actually going to be making I'm going to be taking a few shots, and then maybe swimming to the boat, or maybe swimming to the boat and then taking a few shots once the initial salvo opens. Some kind of. I think once the lads get here, I'm going to swim. Actually, maybe I'll take a shot before I start swimming. I don't know. We'll cross that boat when we come to it.
Sure. Elmea turns to you and says, well, I'll go back and tell the others.
Yeah.
And then turns and starts crossing back over the island, and arrives back at the other boat, emerges from the trees and says, it's them. On the other side. The boat's moored up.
How many did you see?
I couldn't get a precise count. I'd say towards the lower end of the villagers' estimate. But they're all armed and awake.
And I think a pincer move makes the most sense. Let them scout one boat, put all their defenses into fighting that, and we pull up a minute later on the other side.
I actually think that Garaz's going to wait. Like, how long what's the time scale to get around this island rowing, just kind of estimation-wise?
5 minutes?
5 minutes. I'm going to count to 100, and then I am going to walk out onto the shore and take a pot shot at the lookout.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are absolute psychopaths.
Yeah.
Elmea back at the other side, you know, the dwarf has leant forward again and says, we could wait until nightfall. They're bound to have a light on the ship. Come at them out of the dark when they'll probably be asleep.
Cover of darkness is good.
Assuming they don't leave to go reeving first.
Of course.
But if they do, then we'd be aware of it. We could do something. So, yes, I believe waiting until night would be optimal.
Could even start a fire as a distraction.
Well,
spoilers, they did not wait until night.
Aye, set their boat aflame.
Do we need that boat for anything? Is that sort of a potential trophy, or is that just...
Yeah, I mean, you know, a boat's always valuable, but...
It wasn't part of the deal. And it'd just be a lot of effort to bring it back.
Mm. It also means no matter how many of them survive, it'll at least severely hamper their efforts.
He also says the boss has no need for boats.
Where's Gareth?
Elmea kind of says he stayed behind. I assume to keep an eye on the boat.
Cool.
That seems sensible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are the other goblins?
I thought they were with you.
Well, you saw them kind of row off in a boat, so that's...
Oh. Yeah, they went on ahead.
Are they planning to attack?
I don't think we're going to get to wait until nightfall.
We should start rowing.
Yeah. you dive for the the oars and just start, I guess, going around the island. Shuglud, you have so Gara, are you timing the start of your arrows to match when you think the Varaguldur will be in sight of it, or what?
I want to be a distraction for the Varaguldur, so if I can position myself to see when they might be rounding on being in,
you
in
absolutely can. It's not a large island.
Yeah.
You can see when they round like the sort of headland at the edge.
Yeah, I want everyone on that boat paying attention to the one psychopath goblin on the shore and not to the boat full of psychopath goblins coming for them.
Sure. Okay. People were joking in chat about a TPK in the first combat, but I think we're about approaching it. So, and the other boat's going around the other side. Shuglud, your boat, you and the other, is it the 4 Varaguldur apart from Gara, emerge around the headland. Ahead of you is the boat, as I've described, a group of boisterous barbarian folk just kind of like shouting at each other and clearly kind of engaging in perhaps some drinking and some food. Can you roll Gara, can you roll discreet against Shuglud's vigilance? So what's your vigilant modifier, Shuglud?
I think it's -3.
Is your vigilant 13?
I know, +3, I mean +3.
Okay, so 7. Okay, roll discreet with a +3, please, Gara.
Got it. 14. Needed 14. Got 14.
Great. So, great for them. So, Shuglud, you cannot. You don't see Gara hiding on the shore.
Okay. I think the plan is going to be to sail. Kind of. I'll want to call out to Gara, even assuming he's somewhere. But so maybe sail in some direction, which is like closer to the shore than directly at this boat, and also that gives us a chance to see how they react, if at all, to our boat.
Sure, absolutely. So you're not attempting to stay concealed from their boat at all?
I mean, how is it like a relatively clear day out on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, clear day, clear bright day, still water.
I don't think we're trying to catch their attention, but I don't think we're going to think it's realistic to get up.
Sure. The way you're coming round is definitely towards the rear of their boat. So the watchman isn't on that side and so on and so forth. But yeah, if you're not attempting to be discreet, then I will ask for a roll for it, sure.
I'm the distraction.
We're just going to sail, I guess, or row as fast as we can. But like I say, it's sticking quite close to the shore with the idea that maybe we'll call out to Gara, see if he's there, see if he wants to come with us.
Sure. So you kind of round the headland and you're moving across the shore now. So Gara, the Varaguldur boat has like come around the island. It isn't heading towards their boat.
It is not heading towards their boat.
Nope. It's moving along the shoreline towards your position.
You had one job. Okay, I will stay concealed, and the plan is in tatters.
Okay. As the Varaguldur boat kind of pulls along the shoreline, you hear a voice call out from the large Ambrian boat. Hoi! And it says something in a barbarian dialect that I don't think anyone in the Varaguldur has a lawmaster.
I think I'll just swear. No, I'm still concealed. I will leave this to the boat.
Sure. A moment later, a voice calls out in quite heavily accented Ambrian. Goblins, what are you doing here?
I don't think we're going to answer them, to be honest, because nothing I say would be good for them to hear. I'm going to say to the crew, right, do we want to go in? Do we want to try and lead them back to the others?
You know what? I think the Varaguldru will follow your lead entirely. So I think it's your decision to make, Shugled. In other words, I'm not getting involved in this. This is
this mess.
I had a perfectly good dwarf plan, and you guys.
Look, if this leads to a TPK, I will not be blamed. That's all I'm saying. No, they're looking to their leader for guidance on this, Shugled.
Save us.
There's no way to save us now. We're spotted.
I mean, we were going to be spotted before we got there anyway, surely. I mean, maybe not. But, it's too late.
For future reference, assigning a watcher to the suicidal goblins might be.
Can I get a rough idea of how many people are on this boat from where we are?
Sure.
Close?
Give me a vigilant roll.
I rolled a 20.
This is going so well.
I'm trying to imagine whether...
Are there even pirates at all?
It's a free boat.
You can only see 6 or 7 of them against the rails on the boat, so there mustn't be more than that.
We're going in. I'm going to call out to Gara. Gara, you coming with us?
Fuck it. Yep. Yep. Getting on the boat.
We're going to head to a place that Gara can try and get on our boat, and then we're going to row towards this other boat.
Okay. So Gara leaps out from the shore and into the goblin's boat. And then you're heading towards that one. Oh, God. So... The other, I'd say at this point, the other boat comes round the shore, and you can see that the boat of the Varaguldru seems to be heading directly towards a boat with between 10 and 20 heavily armed warriors in, which you will not reach to put it in context of combat rounds, at least 10.
Oh my God.
Well, it was nice knowing you guys.
Do you know?
Honestly, and this is like, GMs say stuff like this all the time. In 30 years of running games, you have thoroughly taken me aback.
It's what the goblins would have wanted.
It's
literally 30 years of running games.
I
No
think
one has
the
ever
phrase
messed
"what
up
they
this
would
badly.
have wanted" is going to apply very soon.
They got the happiest ending that they could have had, I feel like.
Sure.
I think it's a glorious ending. Also, I think withdrawing...
It's not a glorious ending.
I was going to try and perhaps, pull out of this at the last minute so as to not get us all killed. But we rolled a 20. What can I do? It's what the dice want.
Question: has the party, not the party, have the pirates noticed our boat?
They appear to be pretty focused on the goblins right now.
Excellent. Good.
You
Question: can it be piloted? Can it be used by one person?
Can what be used by one person?
The boat. Could you operate the boat?
No, God, no.
Darn. All right. Cool.
Like at least 4 people have to be rowing this thing to make significant progress with it.
And we're 10 turns away.
At least, yeah.
At least.
Yeah. You've come around one edge of the island, and the Varaguldru are ploughing their boat towards this. Yeah.
Would we get there any faster if we beached the boat and went overland?
No, not really.
Can we see how many people there are?
Because, then
you
have to swim and you'd... well, you know what? I said you could automatically see it, but why don't the 3 of you all give me a vigilant roll?
All right, cool.
Any modifiers?
No.
No.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Can I spend an experience point?
Yes.
To re-roll?
For a re-roll, yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. Right.
This is a house rule, by the way, for those. Not a house rule.
No, it's an optional
Module
rule in the core book.
I made it.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
okay.
There are you'd say about 15 individuals heavily armed on that boat. The goblins will have to climb their way up the rigging on the side of the boat to get in. The goblins are literally about to be absolutely massacred.
Right, so
this is within calling distance, by the way.
It's within calling distance.
Yeah, if you bellow loud enough.
But what would that? I feel like
them and then
that wouldn't. No, I don't feel that would actually solve anything.
I mean, you could yell at the goblins not to attack.
I could, yeah. They've seen now that there's like 20 odd people, though, haven't they?
The goblins? No.
Yeah. No, they haven't. They still think
part of the problem is that Shuglud thinks there's like 5 dudes on there.
Okay, cool.
I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility for me to take a roll against how many people there actually are.
You know what? Actually, you're perfectly right there, Chris. We never gave you an opportunity to roll vigilant on there, so we can go ahead with that.
This is desperately like
my vigilant is a 10. So this is a coin flip on whether or not we're going to be generating new characters for next week.
Well, you've also been watching the boat for a while, so I'll give you a +2 on it as well. How about that? Okay. So it's a biased coin flip.
It's a very unusual coin flip, a non-Euclidean coin. Less than 12. Natural 1.
Hey!
Finally.
Garra, you clamber on board that the Varaguldru boat. You've had to wade a bit to get on it, and as it goes forward, Shuglud seems to just he's readying his blades and getting ready to almost just leap off the prow. When you notice further down the ship along the rail, a whole other group of these barbarian folk step forward. They all have shields, they all have axes, but the axes are all hung on their shields and they're hefting up throwing spears. This force on this boat will massacre the Varaguldru in very short order unless you do or say something to prevent this happening.
So, dear viewers, the mechanics by which the Varaguldru are bound to seek out a glorious death is via the skill called Code of Honor, whose effect is basically we cannot run from a fight. Right now, the fight hasn't started.
Yeah, I would say you haven't engaged them, and therefore it's not running from a fight. Like the Varaguldru, they want to find their end in glorious battle. They don't want to be ignominiously speared into a welter of blood and flesh on a fishing boat.
It's not a glorious battle if you essentially run into a one-sided fight.
Yeah, you might as well literally put cement a knife to a wall and run towards it head first. That's not a glorious death, right? So
that's part of the Goblin Olympics, just running at a dagger on the
wall. Okay. So to Shuglud, I'm like, they've spears. This is not a good end. Let me put the blades down. Let me try something.
As soon as Garra indicates where they are, Shuglud, you realize you have made a terrible mistake, and there are at least 10 individuals on this boat, maybe more. If you lead the Varaguldru onto it without support from the other boat, you're all going to die in very short order. Maybe Shuglud's down with that. Who knows? But
I think Shuglud's going to look at the faces of the remaining Varaguldru and decide perhaps not like this, not quite yet. And let Garra try his plan.
Party saved. Right, what is my persuasive? My persuasive is 9, so this one's going to be difficult. So in the most goblin, with as many kind of in difficult goblin, with making a lot of use of metaphor and stuff like that, I'm going to call out, let me see, what's a good excuse? Yeah, have you been fishing? Was it good fishing here?
Right, so you're pretending. I just like the idea that Shuglud's leaning on the prow, like blades drawn, and you're like, isn't it good fishing round here?
I'm literally going to pull him back because I want them to see the power dynamic that I'm kind of realizing that maybe we would have had a go, but we're not going to have a go now.
Sure. Well, why don't you make me a persuasive roll at let's say -2, I think.
Oh my god, it's 7.
The Shugler standing there being very obviously.
Yeah.
I say, chaps, have you had any good fishing lately?
He only does it. I needed a 7 and I got a 5.
They're his fishing swords, obviously.
I don't know how you barbarians fish. But this is how we do it.
You see a few of the these barbarian warriors kind of looking at each other, and then one of them kind of pushes through the group. A large man with kind of hair wrapped in very kind of thick, bunchy braids down from his head, kind of in a very almost whitish blonde, and he looks down at you, and you see him kind of evaluating you, kind of taking you all in with a gaze, clearly not being too fussed about what he sees, and says, "No fishing here. Go further to shore, away from here."
All right. Turn around. Shout to the back of the boat or to the oarsman.
So on this other boat, and Elle, I'm gonna take into account that you've spent an XP for that result. So we'll give you some kind of like perception based thing further in, right? We'll give you a little boost to that further in. You can see and kind of hear what's happened here. Aaron, you're the one who is kind of in charge of the boat, I feel. I'm assuming you're trying to navigate the boat forwards in a stealthy manner and trying to just not be spotted.
I think so, yes.
Is that about right? Why don't you
unless
give
we are aware that the plan has changed, yes.
You are. So, like, I think, can you give me a discreet roll, please? And you know what? Because beyond all reason, they are distracted. So, why don't I give you a +2 to it?
Okay, so I'm aiming for 11. Roll 9.
Okay, yeah. For whatever reason, the watchman on board that ship is thoroughly riveted with what's happening with these goblins. Who wouldn't be? So you think if you want, you can navigate the boat out of sight without being seen. Shuglad and Garar, are you like heading to the shore of the island, or are you kind of heading back the way you came?
Maybe to the shore of the lake is what I'd kind of...
The shore, like round the island and then off towards the shore of the lake.
Yeah.
Which is where they were telling you to kind of piss off to.
Yeah.
Okay. You can see that the goblins are doing that. Aaron, are you doing something similar?
Yes.
Okay. You all kind of let's say you gather on the shore of the lake, shall we? Like the boats round the island and go back to the shore of the lake. Serix Atio kind of like jumps off onto the shore and grabs the boat and kind of heaves it in with the arso as the goblin's boat kind of touches the shore nearby. He just shakes his head and turns around to everyone and says, "What a Prios damned mess."
Well, at least they don't know about us, I guess. But I don't know how we're meant to get any sort of element of surprise now.
There's a kind of shrill metallic noise from back from your boat. The sound of a blade being sharpened. Everyone kind of turns and looks. Vlador, the dwarf, is sat kind of on the prow of that boat. He has one blade across his knees, which anyone close can see that they're kind of made of a bright silverish metal with a lot of elaborate designs carved into them. And he's sharpening the other one against, kind of bracing it against one knee and sharpening it, and says, "You know, I can't help but recall that someone suggested An attack at night. And I think we'll leave the session for this week, folks. I'd love to do a bit more of a cliffhanger than that, but time is not on our side. So I think we will leave it there. If there's any comments or questions in the chat, please shout them out, and Steve will pop them up on screen for us. Unfortunately, just by a kind of copy and paste mechanism. There's a lovely thing that our streaming system, StreamYard, does, but we can't do it because we're remotely streaming to Free League here. So there we go. While Steve gathers those, a wee bit of promo at the end there. So we are telling tales, in case you hadn't noticed. We have our own Twitch and our own YouTube. Head to our Twitch, the link for which is down there at the bottom of the screen. And there's links there to our YouTube and so on and so forth. We run quite a lot of tabletop roleplay every week. 3 ongoing nights, in fact, Monday through to Wednesdays at 8 o'clock BST. We also run monthly one-shot sessions on the first Saturday every month. And we run this little fortnightly thing on the Free League channel. I don't know if you're interested in that. But yeah, those are all the things we run. You can go check our schedule on our Twitch and the like. You can go find our social media, our Discord, if you want to join that and chat to us about stuff. Our Patreon, if you want to support us. All the usual stuff can all be accessed through our links on our Twitch, which is there. Yeah. Oh, and we run a really long ongoing Symbaroum campaign. We should probably mention that. It's on break at the moment. We've just had kind of a climax for first series, but we'll be coming back in a couple of months' time, probably. We're going to play some Coriolis in the intervening time, which is another Free League game. And when it comes back, we'll be playing Throne of Thorns. All of it, which isn't daunting at all. Yes. So there we go. Have we got any comments or questions there, Steve? And if we don't, in the meantime, what's everyone here's thoughts on that? How does everyone think that went? You made my heart go horribly right at the end there. I think I need to lie down because we were going to have a lot of dead goblins, and I was going to have to rethink the rest of the story. But that's the most important role you've ever made, Chris.
I mean, it could have gone a lot worse.
Yeah, it went fine. Everything went perfectly.
I feel like it was going to go fine for Fera either way, because at the first sign of like this going to heck, she was literally just going to like hide and suggest to other people that we hightail it out of there. Because I reckon she could get like the dwarf or Vardamar or even Aaron like on board. Yeah. Just be like, look, guys, they're clearly going to die. Let's go.
It's just this porcupine spear-infested boat floats off into the distance with like, one goblin hand draped over the edge of it.
That's what they would have wanted. Yeah.
Exactly.
Someone just pointed out in chat that, in fact, the goblins did eventually tell a lie to the people on the boat. So I have not broken my word.
We fulfilled the brief.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a question from Zenith Dante. Is this pre-written or homebrew? This is homebrew, albeit incorporating one or two characters from pre-written stories, one of which is Shugblood, gesturing in that direction, who is in the story Blight Knight from the first adventure pack of Symbaroum. But we've picked up as a player character here after the events of that in our main campaign. The other one, actually, I say that, I can't remember if she is. Telkeen, the caravan driver, may or may not be. I can't remember if she's named. If she is, she's in the story in the core book, which we didn't run. We ran a kind of adapted version of it, but yeah, she's in our episode 0 session. Yeah, back on the channel. Yeah, but otherwise, homebrew all the way. Yeah.
First time, despite some 8 or 9 months now of Symbaroum, this is the first time I think we've actually played completely homebrew stuff.
Completely homebrew, yeah, I think so, yeah, because as I say, that prologue, that episode 0, and it also had a kind of follow-up episode later on as well. That was mostly homebrew, but heavily inspired by that the story in the core book. But yeah, everything else has been the Copper Crown, Blight Knights, the River Maiden, Fever of the Hunt, and Bell Tolls for Castor are all the ones we've run. Nice. Named them all. All right, folks. Well, while my cat meows plaintively in the background and pretends he hasn't been fed, thank you so much for joining us for this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for playing to the 5 wonderful folk around me. Thank you to Steve for being our stream manager. Thank you to Free League for hosting us here. We'll catch you again in another 2 weeks, which will make it the 6th of June. Oh, my God. 2021 is roaring past. So we'll see you then. We hope you enjoyed it, and farewell.